moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
Welcome to the broadcast, guys. Glad you're with us. Here we are after a very, very sad weekend in so many ways. What a weekend. I almost came on the air over the weekend, but I thought, no, I'm just going to wait for Monday. I was busy studying for part 4, the final part of Why I'm a Christian Zionist. That was last night. We are going to turn that into a book now, by the way. But of course, we had the slaughter of what is now, 16 folks, many of them Jewish, celebrating Hanukkah by the sea in Australia. We're going to be joined here in just one moment by Aaron Lavarco. Aaron, he's got family that lives in Australia. This was basically Australia's October 7th. Apparently, it was a father and son jihadist Islamic terrorist attack. And many of you by now have seen the video. Maybe you're hearing some of the stories. I have collected a lot of them that I'm going to play tonight for Brannon House Live. One story is of a little 10-year-old girl, little Jewish girl, getting her face painted, laughing, playing with her sibling, dead. Another is a woman who shielded a 3-year-old child with her own body. The parents in the mayhem lost track of her, only to find her with this woman who did not know her and shielded this child with her own body. Apparently, the lady had blood on her. The child had blood on itself. And the parents were concerned that the child had been shot. And the woman said, no, don't worry, that's my blood. They, of course, grabbed the woman's phone number and gave an interview. I'll play that clip tonight. Then we have the incident at Brown University, where we have at least 2 students that were killed there, many others wounded, who were preparing for an exam. Someone was arrested, then let go. They're still looking for the gunman, who supposedly shouted something. What do you think he shouted? Merry Christmas? Happy Hanukkah? What do you think he shouted? I can only guess because I don't know. But if they know he shouted something, why don't they tell us what he was shouting? Could it be because it doesn't fit the political correct narrative of today? And then we have the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife. Now, I'm going to make a comment here because I told you guys I am not a political shill. I'm not a political mouthpiece for anybody. Rob Reiner did not hold to views that most of us in this audience hold to when it comes to many things politically, maybe even social values. Apparently, he comes from a Jewish background. I had read that at one time he was an atheist, but I watched a video where he said he follows the teachings of Jesus. So I don't know what all this means. I don't know where he was at spiritually. I pray he knew the Lord. I don't know. I haven't delved into Rob Reiner's life enough to know where he was at the last few years of his life or months. I certainly know who his father was, Carl Reiner, because he was the one that was behind shows like Dick Van Dyke and the programs I grew up on like that, wholesome, clean shows. I mean, Dick Van Dyke and his wife in the program couldn't even be in the same bed together. They had twin beds next to each other. Obviously, a lot of us knew who Rob Reiner was. I did since I was a kid because he was on a sitcom that a lot of us knew. And a lot of us didn't maybe agree with it. Our parents didn't agree with it. But we all grew up, a lot of us, knowing exactly who we're talking about here. And when I heard that he had been murdered, and then stabbed, and now I read throats slit, I thought, oh no, this was very personal, whoever did this. And it was likely someone that knew them very well. And now we're reading reports, whether they're true or not, I don't think they've been confirmed, that potentially could be one of their children, a son, who I guess apparently had substance abuse issues from what I'm reading, had gone to rehab. I'm only reading what's been out in the press. Apparently this young man and his father, Rob, had put out a movie or documentary about his struggles. I've watched some clips of Rob sitting there with his son, talking about his son's struggles, how the son connected eventually with his father through directing and producing this film about his life or documentary about his life. I've not seen it. I don't know anything about it. All I can tell you is, as I watched this as a father, as a grandfather, as a Christian, my heart immediately went out to this family. And it went out to Rob and his wife, I think, Michelle. Because when I found out they had been murdered and how, I thought, well, that's someone that knew them. And it looks like that's the way you do things when it's very personal. Someone in a great rage. And so I thought, oh, wow. You're kind of praying it's someone outside the family, right? And again, we only can go with what's being reported. We don't have all the facts yet. But if the reports are true and that the person of interest is this one son who has, according to public reports, struggled over the years, been in rehab many times, and I would ask, I wonder who paid for that? I wonder who paid for those, what I'm reading are 16 to 18 stints in rehab, according to press reports. If all this is true, my question would be, who paid for all that? I'm guessing his father. And as I delved a little bit into this weekend, I thought about all the millions upon millions and millions of families, not only in America, but around the world. But let's just talk about America for a minute. All the millions of families in America who are touched by children or grandchildren or a nephew or a niece that have substance abuse issues, whether it be alcohol or drugs or the combination thereof. And these parents, these grandparents, many of them have done Herculean things to try to save their children from themselves, to try to have compassion on their children or grandchildren, to try to understand what happened to them. And some of these kids have had things happen to them as children that they're then trying to deal with all the way through as adults. And some start to self-medicate with substance abuse. Others just simply fall into it with peer pressure, and then it becomes an issue and it captures their life. And many, many families in this country, probably pretty much every family in America, is touched by this. Whether it's their child, whether it's their grandchild, or whether it's their sibling, or whether it's their nephew or their niece or one of their cousins. Almost every family in this country can speak to watching families struggle with an individual who, for whatever reason, has come to find themselves in a very tough spot with substance abuse, drugs, alcohol, or the combination thereof, in and out of treatment, maybe psychological issues. And families have bent over backwards to try to love this person, help this person, rescue this person. And so, as a father, as a grandfather, as a Christian, my heart over the weekend went out to the Reiner family. I saw a clip of Rob Reiner being asked by Piers Morgan about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and I played the clip 3 times just to see it again, make sure I get it all memorized. We can disagree with Mr. Reiner on things politically or socially, but if you watch that clip, and I'll play it tonight on TV, he was horrified by what he saw. He condemned it. He condemned it. And he was respectful. Because at some point, we can disagree politically, we can disagree on social issues, economic issues, we can disagree on religious issues. But at some point, we check those things at the door for a moment and show respect for families and for human life and for family struggles and for humanity that struggles. And you would think that this would be a time when your own president, whether you voted for him or not, could be presidential. But apparently, that's just too difficult for President Trump at times to be presidential, to be the bigger man. To say, I don't agree with Rob Reiner politically. He attacked me. He disagreed with me. But you know what? He's a father. I'm a father. As the leader of this country, whether he voted for me or not, which I'm pretty sure it's clear he didn't, I'm a human, he's a human, I'm a father, he's a father. Most all of us love our kids and want what's best for them. And I'm going to send some nice words of condolence to this family. I'm going to be an example to the American people. But apparently that's just too much for Mr. President Trump. I actually had to go check and see, am I really reading this? Did he really say this? Many other people said the same thing. They're like, I think that has to be fake news. So I verified it off his own social press page. Here it is. Quote, very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling, but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away together with his wife, Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace. End quote. How many of you are proud of your president right now? Whether you voted for him or not. I would say, Mr. Trump, you're a better man than this. Show the American people the side that most people don't get to see of you, and there's only a few people in the room. And I don't think the President Trump I saw in private with only a few people in the room a few years ago and producing your interview, I don't think you would talk that way to Rob or Michelle if they were alive, and I don't think you would talk to their living children like that if they were in the room with you. Please, take that down and apologize. Start setting an example. You're a bigger man. You become president twice. You're a billionaire. You have achieved mighty things. Everyone knows you're successful. You don't need to punch down on everyone that disagrees with you or criticizes you. But what you do need to be is a statesman and a leader. This is not the behavior of a president that we can point to and say, kids, this is how you act with class, even when people disagree with you. You're better than this, Mr. President. You appreciate all the free programming we produce here at Worldview Tube? Well, if you do, we need your partnership now. If you're already supporting us, thank you. If you're not, would you please consider doing so? We have to have a big November and December end of the year giving. Please go here right now to this website, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. You can give through credit card. You can give through PayPal. You'll find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. You'll also find our phone number. Simply use that phone number by leaving a voicemail for Melissa or texting her, and my wife will get back with you and help you make your contribution over the phone. We send out tax receipts with our EIN number, well, the first week of February of each year. We, again, have to have a very big November and December as we get ready for pushing out more Christian worldview programming for 2026. So thank you for going now to worldviewfoundation.com. That's worldviewfoundation.com. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com, worldviewradio.com. Joining me now is our reporter on the ground in Israel, Aaron Lavarco, who has family in Australia. And, of course, all of us are reeling over what we saw happen, not to mention the police. You know, I don't like picking on the police, and I'm not picking on the police. I'm speaking truth. Throughout America and the world, we've gotten rid of the best. We have some really good ones still around, but many of them, the good ones, a lot of good ones. I'm not saying there aren't some good ones, but a lot of good ones were forced out over cultural Marxism, political correctness, bending the knee, literally bending the knee and kneeling to the Black Lives Matter communist crowd. And we're left largely in America and around the world with a lot of people that really aren't qualified to be police. And boy, are the people in Australia angry today about the lack of a response from their own police. Joining me now is Aaron Lavarco. Aaron, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Brandon.
So grieving what happened. It's basically Australia's October 7th. You know, we've been talking about October 7th coming to America. I have a book, my book on Hamas. October 7th comes to America. It's coming. And I don't want it to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, but this kind of thing will happen in America. Yesterday, I called someone I know who is the wife of a rabbi. And I talked with him about this and said, look, you know, this is who I am. This is what I believe. This is how I stand. We have some mutual friends, some folks that went to their synagogue. If there's anything that we can do, please let us know. Be very careful. She said, we're actually moving our Hanukkah event today to the back of the building and adding extra security. I said, oh, yeah, please do. What do you think when you heard about this and you saw this, and you have family members living in Australia right now, don't you?
I do. I have a brother. I spoke with him today. I actually was thinking of asking if he could come on and share his experience, but he couldn't make it. But I had a good talk with him, and he was pretty shaken as well.
Your country basically has opened the door to the jihadis, the Islamist, right? And now, of course, I guess apparently their response to this is to crack down on gun rights versus cracking down on the Islamist in their country. And if more people had guns there, maybe they could have taken these two guys out quicker, right?
Oh, Brandon, there's a lot of emotion, a lot of anger, and we've been talking. Remember, October 7th for us in Israel, it was a massive wake-up call, and I think we've woken up, and I think we've risen up a new generation of people. In fact, the timing of this, as terrible as it is, but it's happening on the first day of Hanukkah. And the story of Hanukkah is all about light out of darkness. And it's a story about a group of men called the Maccabees. And they rose up after years of persecution, not by the Muslims this time, it was by the Greeks, the pagan Greeks, Antiochus Epiphanes IV. He persecuted the Jewish people. He forbade circumcision, the keeping of Shabbat, reading and studying Torah. And of course, he sacrificed pig after pig on the holy altar in the temple. And this was like the straw that broke the camel's back for this group of, it was a family led by Judah Maccabee. And they rose up, Brandon. They rose up. They had enough. And they rose up in a guerrilla warfare. I sent a video out to Logan a couple of weeks ago, right in the area, Modi'in, where all this fighting happened. And even though this is not a biblical story, these stories are in the intertestamental period time, the apocryphal books. If there's any Catholics out there listening, it's in the Catholic Bible. They include the apocryphal books. But I kind of joke, but it's actually true. Hanukkah is mentioned in the New Testament. Christmas is not. Hanukkah is mentioned in John chapter 10, where it says Jesus went up to Jerusalem at the Feast of Dedication, the Feast of Lights. But the point is, the spirit of the Maccabees, who against all the odds, against the Greek mighty empire and army, they rose up. And what I've been watching the news all day today, Israeli, Australian, English, American, and I'm telling you what I'm seeing, what I'm sensing in Australia particularly, you're right, this is their October the 7th. They are ready to, time will tell, but it seems to me that they're ready to kick into action. Now, one of the big barriers to that, according to a lot of people that want to kick into action, is their Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, a very moderate, left-wing liberal who was totally for recognizing a Palestinian state. I don't know if you saw, Brandon, but Benjamin Netanyahu sent a message to Anthony Albanese, and it was not favorable. He reminded Australia's Prime Minister that 6 months ago, he warned him. He said the Jewish community must be more protected. And he said, Mr. Albanese, you have let the Jewish community down. People are saying you have Jewish blood on your hands, Mr. Prime Minister Albanese. So this has stirred, this has shaken up Australia, except for one or two sectors of society. And guess who I'm talking about? The Muslims are celebrating. I've seen videos of imams and sheikhs who are praising, who are saying there is more to come. This is just the beginning. And what we're seeing here in these videos is the savagery. And by the way, I just got an update. These two men, just recently, a matter of weeks ago, they were in the Philippines, Brandon. And the Philippines have ISIS training camps. And it's known by the Australian Secret Service. And so the big questions are, why were they not checked when they came back? Why weren't they even checked when they were there? Big questions, but something's got to happen. Of course, we need to pray. We need to pray that the Australians rise up, because this Muslim issue, this radical jihadist issue, is a major issue in Australia. My brother, he told me because we're from New Zealand. He only moved there just over a year ago when our late mother passed away. But we know, according from our mother and father, that when they moved there 40 years ago, you couldn't find a Muslim if you search for one. Now there are mosques set up everywhere, and just like everywhere, they're moving in, they're taking over, they're going out on the streets, they're protesting, they're chanting, they're disrupting, you name it. You know what I'm talking about. The American people know what I'm talking about. So it's a big wake-up call for Australia.
Yeah, it is a big wake-up call. And of course, I think you and I know the goal here is the de-Christianization of the West. That's part of the globalist plan. This is reportedly, according to memory, this is a Islamic scholar in Sydney, Australia. Listen to this.
We can't take away from the fact, first and foremost, that jihad is definitely part of our deen. And as Muslims, we should never ever shy away from this. And yes, there may be types of jihad, but of the peak of this jihad is that which the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ spoke about, and I'll read the hadith soon. And that is fighting in the path of Allah Azza wa Jal. A physical fight, not the fighting of the nafs. Although your nafs is needed in order for your physical to go out in the path of Allah. So we're not talking about the struggle of the nafs, we're talking about the physical jihad, the physical struggling against the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to make the word of Allah Azza wa Jal the highest. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says to, which means not equal are those believers remaining at home other than the disabled and the mujahideen. who strive and fight in the cause of Allah with their wealth and their lives. Allah has preferred the mujahideen through their wealth and their lives. And for those who remain behind by degrees. And to both Allah has promised the best reward. But Allah has preferred the mujahideen over those who remain with a great reward. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of the worlds, the creator of everything, is telling us who He prefers. And Allah Azza wa Jal prefers those who go out and fight in His path, and He prefers them over those who sit idle. So their rank with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is greater than us who are sitting idle. Or in that case, anyone who is sitting idle. Their status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is different than those who are sitting. Although there is also good in those who are sitting. Each of them has the reward. But Allah Azza wa Jal is saying that He has preferred those who go out in His path, in jihad fi sabilillah, He's preferred them above those who sit idle.
And of course, you find this in the mosque all over America. Again, jihad is definitely part of our religion. Allah prefers and rewards Muslims who directly fight our infidel enemies more than those who do nothing, end quote. And according to memory, that is reportedly an Islamic scholar there in Sydney, Australia. Now, what is the Australian government going to do with all these Islamists? I have a video where they were purportedly coming back, some of them from overseas somewhere, and chanting in the airport and carrying their Palestinian flags. I think the government of Australia has had plenty of warnings. What's really, really weird, too, is that it took many, many minutes for the police to respond to this attack at Bondi Beach. And yet, one map reportedly shows a police station being within the line of sight of where the massacre occurred. And when they showed up, apparently the police couldn't do much. So it took a civilian to do something.
Lots of criticism about the police, Brandon, because here is an open-air Jewish celebration. You don't have to be the top of the police to realize that that's a sitting duck.
Yeah.
And the Jewish community have been asking for years for more protection. Since October the 7th, the jihadists, the Islamists have been going out pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas. In fact, it came out on some of the news that the day after October the 7th, pro-Palestinian and Hamas supporters, they were out chanting, they were celebrating October the 7th. And Tony Abbott, the ex-Prime Minister of Australia, he said, how on earth were they allowed to get away with that? The day after October the 7th, how were they allowed to get away with celebrating? And he's October the 7th, he said, what has happened to Australia?
Hold right there. More. Don't go away.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab. And here, you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, website worldviewradio.com. Folks, if that took place in, say, Tennessee, we don't have beaches here. Let's go to Florida. If that took place in Florida, do you not think that there'd be several men and maybe many women, but several men on that beach that in their backpack, they would have had their pistol? I am not aware of one person on that beach out of hundreds and hundreds, from what it looks like from the video footage, pulling out a pistol and engaging. Because I don't think they could, because the communists in Australia, the communists in the government of Australia have apparently disarmed the people or made it difficult to own guns. Whatever they've done over there. God forbid that happens here. I don't think the American people will let it happen, although I don't really know. I have told this audience, I don't believe in evolution. Doesn't fit with science, doesn't fit with the Word of God. But if you believe in evolution, shouldn't people be getting better and better and smarter and smarter? And yet they're getting dumber and dumber. But of course, that's the sign of a nation and world that's been given over per Romans 1, a nation of fools, vain, useless, and futile. Here's the national adult literacy statistics. It's showing what level of Americans can't even read at a 6th grade level. Now, folks, some people struggle. I struggle with dyslexia. And so sometimes I have to phonetically spell things out and work on the fly live on television. So I have compassion for people that maybe struggle to read. I had to work at it. I'm sure many of my teachers, and I had some absolutely pathetic teachers. One of these days I should do a show and name some of them on the air and tell people just how pathetic they were. They had zero, most of them, in my opinion, skill at being teachers or dealing with kids with dyslexia and other things. I had a couple like Mrs. Copeland who were amazing, who I don't think would agree with me politically, but she was an amazing 3rd grade teacher. But I had some others that were just terrible, downright terrible. I think some of them were just terrible people on top of it. But all that aside, I had to work to overcome dyslexia and reading. And now, of course, I think some of those teachers would be shocked, the guys on the air reading and doing news live and reading reports and words on the fly. They'd be stunned by that if they remembered back to my early elementary days. So I'm very sensitive to people that struggle with reading. And I never liked it when people made fun of George W. Bush, because I think he probably has dyslexia. He had all the signs from what I could tell. And I didn't like it when people made fun of him over that. But with that being said, one reason we have so many people who can't read in America is because we have abandoned phonics. We have abandoned reading, writing, arithmetic, history, and we're not becoming a smarter people. Now we have taught people basically to watch 30-second reels, and their attention span is by design getting shorter and shorter so that they cannot, many of them, discipline themselves to listen to a broadcast that's this long, this program, much less the vocabulary we use. I've told you guys before, sometimes I'm stunned at some of the young people that come around through the young guys in our control room, and when I'm having a normal conversation with them, they don't know what I just said. I'm like, well, what? I don't know what that word means. And these are not difficult words. I'm like, I don't make fun of them. I'm just like, you don't know what that word means? And I don't make fun of them. I just say, well, this is what it means. This is the definition of that word I just used. We have dumbed down people, which is making our job much, much harder. Not to mention we've dumbed it down in the church. Now we have people telling folks that their sermon should be like 15, 20 minutes. 15 minutes is about all people can handle. Really? My people perish for lack of knowledge. And that people is the people of God and of course, the Jewish people who don't know the word. We should be knowing the Bible, knowing theology, knowing doctrine, knowing biblical worldview above all. But the culture at large has become a culture that has deliberately been dumbed down. Education, I've said for decades and decades, is planned failure, intellectual slavery. If you're not educated, you're easily controlled. And now we're facing such an existential threat, and you're trying to explain to people Hezbollah, Hamas, Muslim Brotherhood, Taqiyya, Jihad. And most people, their eyes roll back in their head. And this is how you enslave a people and how you destroy a people. Aaron, what do you make of what I just said?
Yeah, Brennan. Honestly, it's a different era, different generation, and Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed through lack of knowledge because they've rejected knowledge. This is a problem. But one thing you were saying before about Florida, people having weapons to protect themselves. My mind went to this guy, and by the way, I just sent you an email with a picture of him. Ahmed El Ahmed. He was the man that jumped in the crowd.
And what do we know about him? Because some of them came out and said he's Muslim, then others came out and said, no, he was something different. What do we know about him?
Well, what I'm reading, Brennan, is that he is a Maronite Christian. And that needs to be clarified, but that's what the latest that I've heard. He's a Maronite Christian, but honestly, I think what he did.
Well, wait a minute. I'm sorry. We're now being told a couple hours ago that he may not live.
Well, I heard that he's in hospital, but I didn't hear it was so serious.
Yep, that's what we're now being told.
Okay, well, that's sad.
Let me go to the article here that the guys have found in the control room here. All right. Bondi Beach heroes inspiring words before tackling terrorists revealed. But in the article, guys, you're saying he at the X post. Let me go back to the X post. Oh, wow. Bondi Beach hero tackled terrorists expected to die. Tell them I went down to save people's lives.
How long ago was that, Brandon?
4 hours ago by the New York Post.
Because if you scroll back to where you came from, the governor of that state of Sydney, he went to the hospital to
got a picture with him.
Yeah. And I was watching a television station in, I think it was Sky in Australia, and the host was saying he's going to be okay. But I don't know when that was recorded. I don't know what came first. Well,
go back to his religion. Tell me what they're saying. It's because the leftists were like, see, I wonder what the right wing is going to do with the fact it was a Muslim that saved him. And I'm thinking to myself, that's not going to create a problem for us, because we have explained to this audience many times about beer-drinking, pork-eating Muslims like Shahram Hadian's father, who didn't want to live under Sharia and got out of Iran. We are aware that the Quran calls these people hypocrites and that they are worthy to be killed along with us, the infidels. So explaining to people why, in fact, there was a few years ago, we reported somewhere overseas, there were a Islamist guy going down the beach murdering people, and some of the Muslim hotel workers, according to the news report, surrounded some of the British tourists and told the guy, you're not killing them. And some would say, well, wait a minute, why did these Muslims protect these Brits? Well, because they weren't practicing Islam. They don't believe in really what the book says. They don't follow the book. Right. They're Muslim by birth, not by practice, or Islamist. They're Muslims by birth, but they're not Islamists by practice.
And that scholar that was talking before, that Muslim scholar was talking before, did you hear him? He was differentiating between those that will do the work and those who are idle, who will not do the work. That's the kind of Muslim he's talking about. I have bus drivers who are Muslims. I know policemen up on the Temple Mount, good friends of mine. They're Muslims. They're good, decent people. So, and with the name,
but they don't practice Islam, is what you're telling me.
No, that during Ramadan they don't fast. They're what we would call in the Christian world very nominal secular Christians by name, and they're the same in the Islamic world. And with the name Ahmed al-Ahmad, that's a very Muslim name. That's not a Christian name. So Bibi Netanyahu, he identified him as a Muslim. I've heard that he's a Maronite Christian, but with that name. But the point, Brandon, the point is this. The Australian people who saw what he did, I think this is hopefully it's going to give them courage, spirit to drive out this complacency, this weakness that has crept into Australian society. The Australia that I know today, that's not the Australia that I knew when I was growing up. And, and again, I go back to the story of the Maccabees. This is the spirit of Judah Maccabee and his 5 sons. They rose up. And it's the same spirit of Joshua and Caleb after that weak generation through the wilderness. They were, and the negative reports from the negative spies, but they said, we are able. This is what's needed. We've been talking about, it's one thing identifying the problem, radical jihadist Muslims. It's another thing, okay, well, what are you going to do about it? And ex-Prime Minister Tony Abbott from Australia, he said, enough talk, enough talk. We don't want to hear any more talk. There's got to be action. But and then he said, but the problem is the current Prime Minister of Australia.
Yeah, well, and New York's going to look like this soon. Okay, so the guys have read that. Yeah. They were telling me about that New York Post piece, and they've read it a little closer. I think they've straightened it out now. The guy's not dying, thankfully. But he said, I tell people I went down there to save people, and I thought I was going to die. So when he got shot, he thought he was going to die going down there. And then when he got shot, he was pretty adamant he was going to die. So he thought I might die going to do this, but I'm going to go do it anyway. And then when he got shot, he's like, okay, so yeah, I'm going to die here. So he was prepared to die.
Yes. And
but the police, a lot of them were cowering behind cars.
That's right. That's right. And that's the irony of this, that it wasn't a policeman with a weapon. It was a local guy. And I hope that children who saw that, they will rise up and they will see him as a real hero. He's a national
and
hero.
Why the police are not walking around with automatic rifles, semi-automatics around their shoulders, with the strap around their shoulder, able to help the public. They're all using their 9 or 40 or 45 millimeter against a guy with a rifle. And of course, in Israel, all of your guys are walking around with rifles. They're not relying simply on a pistol.
No, that's right. Well, the word that comes to me, Brandon, the police, they're lame.
They're absolutely lame. Yep. And this is why I'm urging my audience to be very careful with any outdoor events, avoid these public events, particularly now, this time of year. It seems like something's going on globally now. I don't know if something's been tripped, but I'd be avoiding any of these big events like this. I'll tell you another thing, too. We've got bulletproof backpacks. We've got bulletproof backpacks. And these are nice big backpacks that cover your torso. I mean, I don't know why more and more families aren't using these bulletproof backpacks that you can shield your vital organs with, and that, or your small children, like that 3-year-old. 1-800-347-9829, 1-800-347-9829.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 30.
All right, welcome back. 1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions on anything we've talked about today, including this true social post by President Trump. 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. We now have reports that the father-son Islamic jihadist that killed so many in Australia and hurt so many others are from, wait for it, Pakistan. Really? Pakistan, huh? Yeah. We've talked a lot about certain individuals here in America that are preaching all kinds of Islamic trash that are from Pakistan. Now, haven't we? Maybe someone could have an interfaith dialogue with a imam from Pakistan. Oh, wait a minute. That's already happened. 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. David, line 1 from Florida. Hello, David.
Hey, Brandon. How are you today, my friend? Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Hey, I just wanted to pass through. As far as President Trump is concerned, I'm as disappointed in him as you are, and it seems that he has been taken by Takia. He's just swallowed the lie, hook, line, and sinker as far as all these deals. And I wish somebody would explain to him the concept of Takia. And the other thing I want to ask, maybe you and Aaron, what do you think of the possibility that the police there in Australia were tipped off and told to sit it out? It's a possibility. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, you know what? The stand down question, David, is a legitimate one. Absolutely. When there's a police station in the line of sight, and just as people were talking about stand down orders in October 7th, we had some what looked like to be almost stand down orders on 9/11 here. You know, Hadia has reported in our keynote address at our conference, it's behind the wall there at the vault, that her team was telling people how this would go down, and they were being called crazy. And then after 9/11 happened, as they described, they wanted to pull them out of the back room and not think they were so crazy anymore. So, I think it's legit, don't you, Aaron, quickly to say you have to worry if there were stand down orders, particularly when you've got Jews celebrating what's advertised as Hanukkah by the sea, which again, I know Monday morning quarterback's easy, but can you not have some of the folks that were former IDF? Are you telling me none of those Jewish folks there were former IDF that could say to the rabbis, look, this is not a good location. There's a large structure right here that has, they could have the uphill vantage. They could have the vantage point, the height. Then you got a bridge over here. We don't want to be like shooting fish in a barrel. This is not a good place for us to hold an event because people can get the upper ground on us.
Brendan, it's insane that there wasn't more security. It's negligence. And I don't know whether they were tipped off and told to stay. I don't know about that. I just know, I think they were out on a picnic and they were on a holiday and they weren't on alert when they should have been. And this is why there's so much outcry. It's a sitting duck, a Hanukkah big celebration when they've had so many tip-offs that something is going to go down. It's outrageous, to be honest.
Let's go to Paul in Michigan, line 2. Hi, Paul.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Long-time listener, really love your show. But I got to disagree with President Trump on the Reiners. This man's been disrespected by everyone. They don't even call him President Trump. They call him Trump, Donald Trump. He's kind of on his own, and I don't mean no disrespect towards you either. I just love your show, but I just think he's a human being, and everyone has a breaking point.
Well, I appreciate your opinion, Paul, and we can disagree and still agree on 99.9999% of things. But I would think his wife, when she reads that, if she hasn't, is going to have to shake her head and go, Donald, come on, Donald. This is a man. This is a wife. This is a family. Come on, Donald, you're the president. Don't punch down. Don't call someone and put out there that he drove somebody crazy, that he was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. As though somehow maybe he was asking for it. The whole thing read very badly, and then to make it about yourself and how you got the greatest economy and surpassed all the goals and expectations of greatness with the golden age of America. It just isn't presidential. And I pretty much know that most women who would read that, I don't care what their political persuasion is, don't like it. And of course, right now, you got a midterm coming up. And I'm watching the feedback on how this is responded. And a lot of people are like, I voted for this man 3 times, but this is not acceptable. Mr. President, take it down. This is what's going on with his own supporters and voters. Look.
I agree. I agree. But again, the man's human.
Okay, so he's human and he got angry.
Most of what he's done. Not everything, but most.
Right, but he's human. He got angry. So now after you've had a night to think about it, take it down.
Agreed.
Because, Paul, at the end of the day, this isn't about Donald Trump. It's about the Republic. It's about you. It's about me. It's about our families. And if we don't see a cleaning up of this administration's goals and objectives and fixing real kitchen table issues and not falling into the trap that all conservatives and Christians and constitutionalists are cold, hard-headed, heartless people, well, the midterms are coming. And then they're going to take over and they're going to use all of this and you and I are going to lose our freedoms and this show could be gone. So at the end of the day, this isn't about Donald Trump and he needs to quit making it about himself or his feelings or his anger. It's about saving the Republic. But I'm glad you called in because I love the back and forth, Paul. So thank you.
Can I have one more thing?
Absolutely.
It's really about come Lord Jesus.
Yeah, you and I agree on that. Yes, you and I 100% agree on that, Paul. And I think we agree on a lot of stuff. Thank you, Paul. I love it when people call in, disagree, and go back and forth. That makes good talk radio, and it shows how we can agree and disagree and still be friendly and kind, which is all I'm asking President Trump to do. Be a happy warrior, Mr. Trump. Let's go to Chris, line 3. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Brandon, really quickly, I just wanted to say, all this anti-Semitism, these people, Jews getting shot and stabbed, whatever, it's people like in Cenk Uygur and others that go around spewing anti-Semitism, and they fuel the flames of this hatred, which causes these people to do these things. And there's so many other people, it ain't just him, but there's so many other people in the last 2 years that have been spewing all kinds of anti-Semitism, and that just throws fuel on the fire, and that just motivates these people to go out and commit atrocities on Jews. So, they're responsible for their words,
Indeed they are. And here you go. 10-year-old little girl. Here she is. 10-year-old little girl. Really? This little girl, her murder can be justified by Palestinians, Hamas, pro-Palestinian people wearing their keffiyehs. Really? Aaron Lavarco, our reporter on the ground, lighttothenationsministry.com. Stay tuned for Crosstalk.
This has been...
And we're back on WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida, and in here at Worldview Tube. I mean, look at this little girl right here, Aaron, 10 years old, murdered yesterday.
Brandon, that's very hard to look. Very hard to look. Look at just such a beautiful, sweet girl. What did she do to deserve that? To have her life taken away? Her family must be absolutely broken and horrified, and may God comfort them. May her name be a blessing. May her memory be a blessing. Yeah.
Here's a video about what the police didn't do. Here we go.
Simple as that. 20 minutes was 4 policemen there. Nobody gave fire back. Nothing. Like they are froze. Like for it looked like 20 minutes. And they shoot the guy change magazine. I look at him all the time. I was 2 of my babies under me, and I look at that, and it's just rifle and a pistol, and just shoot. And the other one was under. They start to come close to the audience. One of the people took his rifle and shoot him. That's one of them. That's what I saw. I didn't know how much I saw, but...
Who were they targeting?
Oh, all the crowd.
So the police, 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, doing nothing. He's reloading and they're not taking advantage of the reloads, But again, we hire in America and around the world now, we hire police officers not based on their skill set, but based on their political correctness and their skin color and their genitalia, because we got to have quotas.
Well, that's another thing, Brandon, is I wonder if the Jewish community employed some private detectives or undercover, like in churches. You know, you go to a church, you know, things will be manifest, but all kinds of questions. By the way, I heard that the Mossad, they will be doing the main investigation into this. The Israeli Mossad.
How are they going to do that? Is Australian government agreed to that or what?
I don't know. But,
well, here again, show you the police's misplacement. You know, what were there? How many people were shot? 16 murdered. How many shot? Do we have a total on that?
The latest I read was over 60.
Okay, so over 60 people shot. And let's figure out how many had broken ankles or other issues because they were running and tripped and stepped on or whatever. Okay, and yet the police, they were doing everything they could to save this murderer. Look at him working on him. Really? Why? 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 You got police spending their time working on a terrorist who just murdered people, and those police could be doing life-saving on the victims, but no, they got to stop trying to save this piece of trash.
Something not right there, Brandon. Something is very twisted.
Here are the Islamists. I got to verify that one before I play it. I'll do it later. Let's see. What else do we got? Oh, yeah. Here's the lighting of the menorah, national menorah on the eclipse outside the White House. Here's a rabbi today. Let me start it over. You guys bringing up the audio because he's kind of soft-spoken. Here we go.
Community and beyond, here and around the world, to please pray for the recovery of Ahmed al-Ahmed, someone who was not a member of the Jewish community, but gave up his safety and well-being to stop one of the gunmen and thus prevent even further loss of life. May he recover speedy and fully. I will now ask that as we begin today's program, as joyous and as festive it will be in defiance of what has happened, that we begin with a moment of silence and reflection to honor the memory of those who are no longer with us.
There you go. Well,
and
yeah,
Brandon, that's important. We must celebrate, because there was debate on the television today about, you know, with such a tragedy during one of our festivals, do we carry on? Do we carry on celebrating? Yes, we do. We celebrate life. We celebrate the story of light. The story is about light. It's the story of the miracle when they cleansed the temple. They only found enough oil to burn for one day, and it burned for 8 days. So
wow.
This is the festival of light over darkness.
And by the way, Logan is saying that the son had been investigated, the Jihadist son had been investigated, tied to a terrorist group in Australia. So as always, the authorities knew who these guys were. They always do. They always do. They always do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And even more so, the Prime Minister and the security, they need to be held accountable for
100%. Aaron Lavarco, our reporter on the ground, brought to you by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com.